headlines this hour. President appoints Abdul Ghani Mohammed as the new Chief Justice of the Maldives, a day after the Parliament unanimously backed his nomination. Economic Minister reveals that State Trading Organization is developing a state-of-the-art cold storage facility in Mali. Government announces plans to install fish aggregating devices at 38 designated sites following a surge in public requests. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Minha Maroof. President Dr. Mohamed Muizzu appoints Abdul Ghani Mohammed as the new Chief Justice of the Maldives, a day after the Parliament unanimously backed his nomination. Abdul Ghani's appointment as Chief Justice was made in accordance with Article 147 of the Constitution. The oath of office was administered by Supreme Court Justice Abdullah Hamid, after which the Chief Justice signed the official declaration. Chief Justice Abdul Ghani holds an LLB honors in law and Islamic jurisprudence from Al-Azhar University, 2000. Along with a master's degree in Islamic Judicial Sciences and Sharia Policy, 2022, a postgraduate diploma in teaching 2024 from the Islamic University of Maldives. He is currently pursuing a doctorate in Islamic Judicial Sciences and Legislative Policy. Prior to his appointment as Chief Justice, he served as President of the Tax Appeal Tribunal and has held academic positions as a lecturer at the Islamic University of Maldives, Villa College and Zikra College. His judicial career encompasses service on the benches of the Supreme Court and Civil Court, as well as his tenure as Chief Judge of the High Court after having also served on the Judicial Service Commission, JSC. Mohammed Saeed, Minister of Economic Development and Trade, sharply criticizes the previous administration's handling of the economy, attributing the Maldives' current financial strain and rising consumer prices to what he described as flawed policies implemented during the COVID-19 pandemic. Minister Saeed, speaking on PSM News' Rajamia the program, accused the former government of economic mismanagement that resulted in unprecedented debt in 40 years. In outlining the fiscal legacy of former President Ibrahim Mohamed Saleh, Minister Saeed pointed to a series of decisions that he argued undermined the country's financial stability. When the Maldivian Democratic Party assumed office in 2018, the state's reserve reportedly stood at $1 billion, with the Sovereign Development Fund holding more than $250 million. Within a year, the national budget had expanded to $3.24 billion, up from $1.82 billion. The minister's criticism extended to the management of pandemic-related aid. Despite receiving billions of rupiah for COVID-19 recovery, he contended that actual expenditure was disproportionately low. He also cited an outstanding sum of $590.14 million owed to state-owned enterprises. Taken together, Minister Saeed claimed these actions contributed to a cumulative debt of $8.11 billion. Minister Saeed said concerns over fiscal discipline were compounded by the former administration's approach to monetary policy. He accused officials of exacerbating inflation through central bank financing, commonly referred to as printing money, and cited statistics indicating that $518.15 million had been printed during President Saleh's tenure. Minister Saeed said, addressing the economic fallout, the current administration, led by President Dr. Mohamed Muizzu, is pursuing a series of measures aimed at stabilizing the economy and curbing inflation. Among them is the establishment of the Maldives Industrial Free Zone, a dedicated entity intended to facilitate bulk storage of goods across the archipelago and improve distribution networks. Efforts to monitor and manage the cost of essential goods are also underway. Minister Saeed described the development of an essential commodity index that will track prices, for 162 items, including 111 household and food preparation products, 39 varieties of fruits and vegetables, 10 fish products, and various energy items. The index, he said, is designed to identify price trends and enable timely interventions. Minister Said concluded by reaffirming President Moise's commitment to guiding the economy towards stability and implementing comprehensive solutions to address inflationary pressures. Minister of Economic Development and Trade Mohammed Said reveals that State Trading Organization STO is developing a state-of-the-art cold storage facility in the industrial village in the capital Malé to complement efforts to ensure food security in the Maldives. Speaking on PSM News' Rajami of the program, Minister Said pointed out that President Dr. Mohamed Moise established the Maldives Industrial Development Free Zone (MIDFC) as a key driver of the economic diversification agenda of his administration, with the primary objective of ensuring food security in the island nation. The company has been designed to engage in large-scale importation and re-export activities with a focus on developing free trade zones to optimize profits and foster international trade. MIFGZ is a collaborative venture of 5 other state-owned companies: STO, Maldives Airports Company Limited MACL, Maldives Ports Limited MPL, Maldives Transport and Contracting Company MTCC, and the Housing Development Corporation HDC. According to the minister, STO is currently developing a cold storage facility on 2,000 acres of land in the industrial village, which he said will complement the government's efforts to ensure food security. Such bilateral trade agreements, Minister Said said, are designed to reduce the price of goods imported to the Maldives, adding that a lot of essential food items with zero tariffs are now coming in from China under the free trade agreement. The government is also set to introduce a new essential commodity price index, marking a further step in its efforts to regulate the cost of staple food items consumed nationwide. The index, to be developed and overseen by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS), will monitor monthly price trends across a curated list of 162 baseline commodities. Minister Said described the index as integral to the administration's strategy for ensuring affordability and availability of essential food supplies. Ministry of Fisheries and Ocean Resources announces plans to install fish aggregating devices (FADs) at 38 designated sites, following a surge in public requests. Of the shortlisted locations, 9 FADs have already been deployed, the ministry confirmed. The expansion comes amid growing demand for reef-based and recreational fishing infrastructure. The initiative, led by the ministry, aims to bolster economic opportunities for local fishermen while promoting sustainable marine resource management nationwide. Central to the program are 2 categories of FADs currently deployed by the ministry: Doshi Kandufati, calibrated for pole and line fishing and targeting tuna and deep-sea species, and Vandu Kandufati, designed to support sports and reef fishing. Ministry officials report a marked increase in demand for the latter, reflecting the growing popularity of recreational fishing in coastal communities. That demand has translated into 38 formal requests for the deployment of Vandu Kandufati units. Of these, 9 have already been installed, including a newly positioned device located 7 miles southeast of Dithundi near Korufushi in Mimu Atoll on 4th August 2025. With the latest additions, the national FAD network now comprises 102 operational units, 65 Doshi Kandufati dedicated to offshore fishing, and 37 Vadu Kandufati supporting reef and sports fishing. Although no recent requests have been submitted for Doshi Kandufati, The ministry continues to maintain the offshore infrastructure. When units detach or drift, they are promptly replaced. This week, the Doshi Kandufati near Vilufushi in Tha Atoll was renewed and repositioned 10 miles east of its original location following a break-off incident. Since the start of the current administration, 22 new FADs have been deployed nationwide. Alongside this expansion, the government is advancing plans to establish dedicated FAD centers in 2 regions. The ministry has confirmed that groundwork for the center in Funadu, Shavyani Atoll is scheduled to commence before December 2025. Maldives Monetary Authority (MMA) figures shows Maldives has recorded a 5.6% increase in international flight movements during the first 6 months of the year. According to MMA's monthly statistics, a total of 8,807 international flight movements, including scheduled and general flights, were recorded in the first 6 months of this year, up from 8,337 flights during the same period last year. The increase was largely attributed to the surge in scheduled international flights to the Maldives, with 8,088 scheduled flights by June as opposed to the 7,611 movements recorded by June 2024. General flight movements, which includes charter flights and private jets, registered a slight dip with 719 flights during the first 6 months in contrast to 726 last year. International flight movements are expected to increase even further ahead of the busy winter season, with major international airlines, including Malaysia Airlines, Qatar Airways, and Virgin Atlantic, already announcing more flights to the globally renowned tourist destination. The government has set a target of 2.3 million tourist arrivals for this year. So far this year, 1.3 million tourists have already arrived in the Maldives, and around 1 million more are needed to meet the target. The peak tourism season is approaching, and arrival numbers are expected to significantly increase during this period. The Maldives Correctional Service implements its first increase in prisoner labor allowances in nearly 2 decades, introducing a revised compensation framework intended to address long-standing concerns over outdated remuneration. The adjustment, effective from 16th July, marks a significant recalibration of policy within the nation's correctional system. Under the new structure, inmates participating in labor programs will receive a minimum daily allowance of $3.24, up from the previous rate of $1.95. The scheme also establishes a tiered payment model, with allowances rising to a maximum of $9.73 per day, contingent upon the nature of classification of the work performed. According to Correctional Service officials, the decision followed a comprehensive review of existing policies. They noted that the rates had remained static for approximately 20 years and no longer reflected prevailing economic conditions. Inmates serving extended sentences are regularly assigned to work programs within correctional facilities. These tasks, classified by grade, span a broad range of vocational activities: welding, handicrafts, agriculture, masonry, laundry services, and other unit-specific operations. The Correctional Service added certain specialized projects had previously warranted supplementary allowances even before the current revision. Oil prices climbs, rebounding from a 5-week low the previous day, as traders focused on U.S. President Donald Trump threatening India with higher tariffs over its Russian crude purchases and a larger than expected U.S. crude draw. Brent crude futures LCOC1 gained 90 cents or 1.3% to $68.54 a barrel by 9:36 GMT, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude CLC1 was up 92 cents or 1.4% at $66.08 a barrel. Both oil contracts fell by more than $1 on Tuesday to settle at their lowest in 5 weeks, marking a 4th session of losses. Trump's renewed threats on Tuesday of higher tariffs on India for buying Russian energy supported the market. India, along with China, is a huge buyer of Russian oil. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff arrived on a last-minute mission to seek a breakthrough in the Ukraine war, 2 days before the expiry of a deadline set by Trump for Russia to agree to peace or face new sanctions. The market was also seeing some support from U.S. crude inventories falling last week, analysts said, as sources citing American Petroleum Institute figures said on August 5th that stockpiles had fallen by 4.2 million barrels. That compares with a Reuters poll estimate of a 600,000 barrels draw for the week to August 1st. ChatGPT maker OpenAI is in early-stage discussions about a stock sale that would allow employees to cash out and could value the company at about $500 billion. A source reported to the media outlet Reuters that existing investors, including Thrive Capital, are in discussions to participate, who requested anonymity because the talks are private. The $500 billion valuation is an eye-opening popping bump up from the $3,000 billion valuation that the Microsoft-backed company currently has. The share sale would also offer a financial incentive to employees as technology giants such as Meta compete aggressively for AI researchers with lucrative compensation packages. Thrive Capital declined to comment. Bloomberg first reported the potential sale on 5th August. Weakened by hunger, many Gazans trek across a ruined landscape each day to haul all their drinking and washing water, a painful load that is still far below the levels needed to keep people healthy. According to aid groups, even as global attention has turned to starvation in Gaza, where after 22 months of a devastating Israeli military campaign, a global hunger monitor says a famine scenario is unfolding, the water crisis is just as severe. Though some water comes from small desalination units run by aid agencies, most is drawn from wells in a brackish aquifer that has been further polluted by sewage and chemicals seeping through the rubble, spreading diarrhea and hepatitis. COGAT, the Israeli military agency responsible for coordinating aid in the Israeli-occupied Palestinian territories, claims it operates 2 water pipelines into the Gaza Strip, providing millions of liters of water a day. Palestinian water officials say these have not been working recently. Israel stopped all water and electricity supply to Gaza early in the war, but resumed some supply later, though the pipeline network in the territory has been badly damaged. Most water and sanitation infrastructure has been destroyed, and pumps from the aquifer often rely on electricity from small generators for which fuel is rarely available. Moaz Mohammed, aged 23 and a university student before the war, said he has to walk about a kilometer queuing for 2 hours to fetch water. He often goes there 3 times a day, dragging it back to the family tent over bumpy ground on a small metal handcart. Their struggle for water is replicated across the tiny, crowded territory where nearly everybody is living in temporary shelters or tents without sewage or hygiene facilities, and not enough water to drink, cook, and wash as disease spreads. The United Nations says the minimum emergency level of water consumption per person is 15 liters a day for drinking, cooking, cleaning, and washing. Average daily consumption in Israel is around 247 liters a day, according to Israeli rights group B'Tselem.
The minimum that a normal person like you and I should use in average a day is 100 liters. That is the minimum standard. The minimum emergency standard is 15 liters a day. So we are 5 times, still 3 to 5 times less than the minimum emergency standard set by the WHO.
Oxfam said last week that preventable and treatable waterborne diseases were ripping through Gaza, with reported rates increasing by almost 150% over the past 3 months. Merely queuing for water and carrying it now accounts for hours each day for many Gazans, often involving jolting with others for a place in the queue. Scuffles have sometimes broken out, Gazans say. Collecting water is often the job of children as their parents seek out food or other necessities. With water so hard to get, many people living near the beach wash in the sea. Lebanon's cabinet tasks the army with drawing up a plan to establish a state monopoly on arms by the end of the year, a challenge to Hezbollah, which has rejected calls to disarm since last year's devastating war with Israel. The Iran-backed group is under pressure from its rivals in Lebanon and from Washington, who want Lebanon's ministers to publicly commit to disarming the party and worry that Israel could intensify strikes on Lebanon if they fail to do so. The session at Lebanon's presidential palace was the first time the cabinet addressed Hezbollah's weapons, unimaginable when the group was at the zenith of its power just 2 years ago. Ministers met for nearly 6 hours. In a concluding statement, Prime Minister Nawaf Salam said the cabinet had authorized Lebanon's army to develop a plan to ensure that all arms across the country would be confined to 6 specific state security forces by the end of the year. In June, U.S. envoy Thomas Barrack proposed a roadmap to Lebanese officials to fully disarm Hezbollah in exchange for Israel halting its strikes on Lebanon and withdrawing its troops from 5 points they still occupy in southern Lebanon. That proposal included a condition that Lebanon's government pass a cabinet decision clearly pledging to disarm Hezbollah. With little progress on the proposals, Washington's patience began wearing thin. It pressured Lebanon's ministers to swiftly make the public pledge so that talks could continue. But Lebanese officials and diplomats say such an explicit vow could spark communal tensions in Lebanon, where Hezbollah and its arsenal retained significant support among the country's Shiite Muslim community. Lebanese officials and foreign envoys say Lebanese leaders fear that a failure to issue a clear decision could prompt Israel to escalate its strikes, including on Beirut. A U.S.-brokered ceasefire last November ended the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel, though Israel has continued to carry out strikes on what it says are Hezbollah armed depots and fighters, mostly in southern Lebanon. According to Remco Evenepoel's current team, the Belgian Olympic gold medalist will leave Soudal Quick-Step and join Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe at the end of the 2025 season. The 25-year-old former Vuelta a España winner, who won gold in the road race and time trial at last year's Paris Games, joined Soudal Quick-Step in 2019 and was contracted to the team until the end of 2026. In December, Evenepoel collided with the open door of a vehicle while training in Belgium, suffering multiple fractures, a dislocated collarbone, and contusions to both lungs. He underwent surgery and worried he might have to retire, but returned to competition in April. Evenepoel was third overall when he abandoned the Tour de France during the 14th stage last month. Roxana Chicas, Ph.D., a nurse scientist at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, leads a groundbreaking effort to protect outdoor workers from the rising threat of heat-related illnesses. The innovative product was developed by Roxana by drawing from her personal experience as a Salvadoran immigrant whose family worked in construction and agriculture. Chicas has spent nearly a decade focused on improving conditions for vulnerable outdoor workers. In collaboration with Georgia Tech, Chicas and researchers have developed a small wearable biopatch device that attaches to a worker's chest and monitors vital signs like skin temperature, heart rate, and respiratory rate. The project was developed with input from farm worker communities who helped shape the research. So far, the biopatch has been tested on 168 farm workers who have responded positively to the idea of using technology to protect their health on the job. Chica says they plan to bring the product to market within the next year or two, prioritizing affordability to ensure it's accessible to the workers who need it most. And that's all we have for now. Thank you for watching. Wish you all a pleasant day ahead.